Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim, and today we're going to be reviewing the Flying Bear P902. First, let's start off with just a couple things that I have printed. As you can see, a nice, beautiful vase that I found on Thingiverse. Again, that came out just great. Just great stuff. This vase here was made by one of the members in our Facebook group, and again, you can see, again, just beautiful. Just beautiful. This was a weekend project of mine. This is a flexible octopus. All of his stuff was printed on the Flying Bear. He came out great. Everybody loves him, and everybody wants their own. So let's see. This is another thing that I found again on Thingiverse. I think a few people in our group have printed this. This was printed on the stock hot end and extruder. And this was supposed to be a pen holder that apparently I printed a little bit too small. But as you can see, it still came out pretty good, in my opinion anyways. Okay, I'll move that crap out of the way. All right. Now, let's briefly talk about the structure of the P902. It is all aluminum, as you can see. There's very, very few injected parts. It's a nice, sturdy machine. It does not rock back and forth. Sits flat on any table that I've put it on. And when I put this machine together, I really had no problems at all. It went together as expected. I found a lot of great videos online to help me do this. I was not missing any pieces. When the box showed up from UPS, the box was undamaged and looked like it just came out of the factory. Let's go over some of the advantages of this printer. Again, the structure of the Flying Bear P902 is relative to the Prusa i3. The printing platform does remain static. It doesn't move side to side or anything like that. It just raises on the z-axis and lowers on the z-axis. That's it. The models come out great. There's no wobble or anything like that. And it's a very stable machine. Compared to most do-it-yourself 3D printers on the market, this product uses metal parts and injected parts. Like I said, very, very few injected parts. Probably about 97% of this machine is all aluminum. And the performance of the printer is just great. Before I go into what I did to this machine and we do some type of print, I just want to say that I jumped into 3D printing back in February. It's always intrigued me, and I've always wanted one. So when I got my taxes back this year, I took the jump. I bought this machine, assembled it, and I'm now printing all kinds of stuff. And I tell you what, an amazing hobby. For anybody who's a hobbyist, this is the machine to get, in my opinion, of course. It's just fun. Every time you do something, when you pull something out of that printer, it's just great. All right, let's go into some of the improvements that I have made on this machine. As you can see, right there in the very front, there is a piece of sitall glass sitting over the print bed, held in place by 4 binder clips. This was a great upgrade. I've never had an adhesion problem. Usually I'll hit a little hairspray on top of that, and off she goes, and out come the prints. Now I'm going to move a little bit. Sorry if it gets a little jumpy. I'm going to go down here, and the Flying Bear P902 comes with a RepRap discount display. I did upgrade to this one here, which is the full graphics display by RepRap. I like to see that, a little bigger screen with, a few icons, which I always enjoy. It basically provides the same information that the original RepRap discount display has, except just a little bit bigger. I will show you what I did add also. This is a 2.8-inch TFT. It is good as well. I just prefer that display over this one. I can show you that it does all work. You can preheat, extrude, move, home your axes, do any leveling, change filaments, all that kind of stuff. You can set up a whole bunch of stuff. The Wi-Fi, I do not have the module. I'll show you why in a minute why I don't have that, but yeah, good stuff there. Over here, you'll see the power supply. It does come with a 20 amp power supply. Going on somebody's word in the Facebook group, I did upgrade to the 30 amp power supply, and this one here actually has a fan inside, which the original one did not. So I needed to upgrade to that. In the back, you'll see a printed part sitting right on top there. That is for just a little bit of stability there. Let's see, over here, you'll see my little Raspberry Pi. That does run Octoprint. I just found it a little bit easier in printing and things like that. All right, let's go up here. Up here, you will see a BLtouch clone on the front of my chassis there. I do also have the E3d V6 and the Titan extruder. One thing you will notice, let me get a little closer to this, is right here, you'll notice that we have a green cover. A common problem on the Titan extruder is that the front cover does shatter, and I do have that here. This happened. I have no idea why it happened. It just shattered in the middle of the print. E3d is replacing that. It is a known problem. Again, the Flying Bear does also come with a Ramps Arduino board. I did upgrade over here, you see, to the MKS Gen 1.4, and that is a 120mm fan blowing on the electronics, keeping all the stepper motors nice and cool. My wire management guys, I know I have a little to work on there. Again, you can see here at the top, I do have a sleeve over the wires going to the printhead. I'm not quite so sure, again, how I like that. We'll see how I like that. I don't know. I may shorten it, change it. I haven't quite decided. For a spool holder, I do have a hatch box mounted to the wall here. The default one that comes with the printer, I mean, will get you through until either you can print a new one or buy one like this. Again, this is a Hatchbox 2 spool holder mounted to the wall. Let's see what else we got here. One of the very first upgrades I did was this. This is a switch to shut the machine off. The stock Flying Bear P902 does not come with that. I recommend everybody to upgrade to that, so when you shut the machine down, you don't always have to reach down and unplug the machine from the wall. Here, you can just hit the switch, and she's off. Another thing I want to talk about is that right there. The original plug wire that comes with the Flying Bear P902, the gauge of the wire I was not happy with, so I did grab a old computer plug and cut the end off and wired it in that way. But that solved that problem, at least for me. Over here, you'll see a little tiny USB port on the front of my machine. It does hook to where the Octoprint is. However, there's just not enough room for that specific connector to get in there at the moment. I have to do a little customizing. All right, let's do a print here, and let's see what's up. All right, sit tight, everybody. We're going to do a little print. All right, that is heating up at the moment. And let's just talk about the Flying Bear a little bit more. Like I said, I've had this machine since about February 25th, and it's been an everyday print. I did have, obviously everybody gets the stock extruder and stock hot end. I did have that for quite a while, and I just wanted to go with the E3d V6 and the Titan extruder. I guess it's just a preference of mine, along with the MKS, don't get me wrong. The Arduino board that comes with it with the ramps was fine. I just happen to want the MKS Gen. In the future, I may upgrade to a smoothie board. I haven't quite made up my mind on that. It does take a few minutes for this to heat up and the bed heat up, and the hot end is pretty quick. But the bed takes a little bit. I have not insulated the bottom of my bed, which is on my next list of upgrades to make, which is a cork insulation sitting there on the bottom of the bed, held in place by those 4 binder clips that you saw earlier. I think that will help me out a lot. I just haven't gotten around to that, quite frankly, because, well, I work quite a bit and I got to get that ordered. So that's probably, maybe my next review will be that cork on the bottom. Also, I can tell you I am a facilities manager in a pretty large building. It proved to be pretty good. If something breaks that's within my realm of replacement, I can, assuming I can design it in Fusion 360, which is a complete other story. I'm not very good at that at the moment. I am learning. It's not that hard. You just got to put a little time into it. But yes, you can replace things. As you see, I did replace some things on the printer. I did not design them. Any of the things that I showed you in the beginning, I did not design. All of them were found on Thingiverse. I did, however, print something off Thingiverse, which I thought was kind of neat. It was a steering wheel knob for one of the lawn tractors we have at work, and it works great. Again, Flying Bear came to the rescue. Now, that's one of the good things about having a 3D printer in your household, is that, A, it does not take up a lot of room. As you see, I did put it on a table here in this room. But, most people, if they have a desk, can sit right on their desk, and they can print right from their computer. Although I will tell you that I don't suggest you print from a computer, because if your computer gets into any updates or anything like that and restarts, guess what? Your print stops. It could be a long print that stops in the middle of the night, etc., etc. So if you don't have access to a Raspberry Pi, I suggest highly that you print from portable storage, whether it be an SD card or a USB stick. One of the things I forgot to show you here is that on the TFT, let's see if I can get a good shot of it here. There is a USB port on that, so you can put a USB stick into that little display there. Even that down a little bit so we can see. Okay, good. All right, let me make a quick check on this. Bed is still heating up, so we'll wait on that. Loaded into the printer, I do have Hatchbox translucent orange PLA. I love those translucents, just great, especially if you're printing a base. Or another thing to really check out when you get your Flying Bear is a litho paint. I don't have any here. I have made some for people at work, and they love them, and they come out amazing, amazing. You print one of those for somebody, they are going to love it. They will love it. One other thing I did print, while I had ordered my E3d V6, is this guy here. I printed quite a few of them. It is a replacement mount for that very extruder. And one thing I can tell you guys is, if you print something on this machine, like a carriage replacement or a mount or anything like that, do yourself a favor, print 2. That way, if one breaks or something happens, you have a backup plan. If your carriage breaks and you didn't print a replacement, well, guess what? Now you have to either put something back on that you took off, or you have to have somebody else print it for you, a friend, a neighbor, etc. Do yourself a favor. If you print one thing to put on the printer, print the replacement part for it. That's what they're for. These printers can replace themselves. And by that I mean if something breaks on there that's not aluminum, a carriage piece, an end stop piece, anything like that. That's what they're for. They can replace those parts. Either you design them or you find the STL on Thingiverse or somewhere else. But that's and that's half the fun too, knowing that you can replace things that break on the printer. If something goes down, that something happens, print a replacement part for it, or be proactive. like I am, and print things before they break. But that's even better. One other thing I can show you is this guy here. This was a mount that I found on Thingiverse. This was made to mount on the machine to hold the range cord. Okay, here we go. The machine is going to go through its auto homing sequence and auto bed leveling. As you see now, it's raising up. So you can go ahead and watch. This is all part of the printing process, guys. This is all G codes in the start of Cura to tell it to go ahead and do its thing here. So we'll let this go, and now you guys can see how she prints. I'm going to give her a little shot of hairspray, guys. As you see, it doesn't take much, just enough to cover. Now it's going to do grid on the print bed, and it will compensate for any things that may not be level automatically, which is one of the great things of the BLtouch and the BLtouch clone, which I have. I just haven't. I got the clone because, well, it was the first thing I saw, and it was about $10 cheaper. It'll do about 16 points on the bed, and then it will start its print. BLtouches are a little tricky to configure. I do use the Marlin firmware. And when I did mine, I did, if you are familiar with the firmware of Marlin, looking down towards the sensors, I did not enable BLtouch. I used the other way, which was shown to me by a very knowledgeable member in our Facebook group, and I thank him for that. It worked, and he was a great help in getting my bed leveling sensor to work properly. So believe me, I fought for an entire weekend with this until I finally gave in and decided to seek help, and he helped me right away, and I still thank him for that. Very knowledgeable individual. Alright, and we are just about done. That's the last point right there. Alright. I think she's just heating up a little bit more, and she is. She's only got about 3 or 4 more degrees to go, and we will be in business. I have printed with PLA, PETG, and yesterday TPU. Just, you know, this thing just prints with the stock extruder. This extruder, it just does what it's supposed to do. As you can see, here we go. And this is not a time lapse at all. So we'll go ahead and let this thing do its thing, and you guys can see how she does. It is printing a little cable holder that snaps onto 2020 aluminum frames. It shouldn't take very long, maybe 10-15 minutes. So there you go, guys. You can see how she prints. Enjoy. The noise you hear is retraction. You know, one thing I can tell you is that when you're printing with PETG especially, you want to have your retraction very, very small. I did make a mistake and have too much retraction with that. And if you print with TPU or any flexible stuff, I can suggest, I'm no means an expert, but I can suggest that you disable retraction. You really don't want to start retracting stuff that should not be retracted up into the things where it does not belong. Because that will end absolutely horribly for you and the print head. I know when I first put my E3d V6 in, I had a problem with I forgot to tighten the nozzle with the hot end heated up to about 240 degrees Celsius. So anybody who upgrades, if you're building this machine, make sure that you heat up that hot end to about 240 degrees, and then just snug up that nozzle to the aluminum block. And by snug, I don't mean ridiculously tight. I mean, 1 or 2 fingers tight. That's it. Doesn't need to be so tight that you need, a ratchet with a long extension to pull this off. It's aluminum, guys. You'll break it. Trust me. Don't do it. As you can see, it's a very stable machine. That wire tie you see there in the front holding the front of that mount down is just, I haven't quite figured out. When I printed that PETG, I think I had some adhesion issue in the front. It kind of warped the touch, so I'm just using that wire tie to hold it down. Again, as you see, it prints just fine. The only thing you do not see on there, which is I kind of removed for a little while, is the part cooling fan. Everybody will say that you need it, and there's all kinds of arguments and things on that. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I just took it off for now, basically because I haven't quite found an exact amount to put that on since I upgraded. I have tried to design one, and I have not been successful. So it's off for now until I can either find it or customize something to work. One other thing I can tell you is if you do upgrade to Titan or the Aero in Marlin, there is a firmware setting that talks about the extruder and using gears. The stock extruder, I believe this is set to true. If you upgrade to anything that's geared, you have to change it to false, recompile, and resend this to your driver board. So please don't forget that. I did make that mistake in the very beginning as well, so that's why I'm just kind of mentioning it now. So that's not something. Oh, and going back to tightening up that nozzle, if you do get the E3d V6, it does come with the silicone socks, which is the blue sock we saw on the bottom. That sock will hide a lot of seepage that can come out of there, and pretty soon you'll look under there to do something random and be like, oh my god, where did all this plastic come from, and how do I get it off of there? How to get it off? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. Sometimes it will just kind of peel off, or you're going to have to heat up your hot end and kind of take it off that way. I did a combination of both. I ended up, it was shortly after I put this thing together, I ended up taking it all apart again, and just guys, don't make that mistake. Use my advice and do it the right way. So we're about 40% through this print, and you see it's pretty quick. We are printing at 60 milliliters a second with Hatchbox PLA. The support from Flying Bear has been outstanding. You can reach them in many ways. And if you get a machine with you need some help, something is not right, they will rectify it. Very, very good. A great place to buy this machine is through AliExpress. Please find the link below. It is in the description of this video. As you can see, the BLtouch phone did its job. It is compensated for all that stuff. With a printer like this, the average Joe like me can enter the 3D printing world and be successful in their prints. And by successful, I mean that when you print something, when you pull it off that print bed, it's good, and you can feel good about that. Not only did you build the machine yourself, which is half the fun of these things, guys, because when I got this machine, I don't know if I've said it before, but it brought me back to when I was a kid, and at Christmas time you get the erector set. And the erector set is left up to your imagination and what you can build. We want here have an electric set on steroids. But not only do you build it, put it together, wire up the electronics, but after that, it can make things to help you in the world. You know, whether it be a steering wheel knob or a replacement part for your refrigerator or something that you've always wanted to have and nobody makes it. Make it yourself. Make it yourself. Use it. Great places to look for things, guys, are Thingiverse. That's usually my number one go-to place. Things that you can design with, Fusion 360, Tinkercad. There's a couple other ones I can't think of them off the top of my head. I'm sorry. It's about 6:22 here in the morning. And this print has about 7 minutes left on it. So we'll go ahead and let it finish. Now, one thing I can tell you is if printing thermoplastic or TPU or any type of flexible filament, slow the print down. You don't want to print at 60 millimeters a second. You probably want to start out at about 20 to 30 millimeters per second. 30 millimeters is about as fast as I was able to go without sacrificing print quality. Some of the PPG prints high, around 220, 240, depending on what type of filament that you get. I use a lot of E-Sun, whether it be PLA, PLA Plus, PPG. I do use some Hatchbox, some Sane Smart in the TPU range. If you get the chance, while your printer's on order, and you have the extra cash available, I can suggest the Raspberry Pi. Octoprint is a great thing. And you can do time lapses. You can, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can set a long print, monitor it during the day from your smartphone, work computer, etc., etc. If something starts to go foul, you can stop the print. One of the next things I want to make is a filament runout sensor. Those are nice. It uses an optical end-stop as its sensor. As you can see here, I do have the bracket already made. If you see the filament goes in there, comes out the other side, and it passes through the optical sensor. When the optical sensor does not sense anything through its little sensors, it signals the printer to stop and tells you that the filament is out. I have an idea on where I want to mount this and how I want to do it. It's readily available. It is a plugin for Octoprint, and it is not using the filament runout sensor in Marlin. So I'm sure there are other ways to do this with Marlin and a filament runout sensor, but the plans that I saw used the Raspberry Pi and Octoprint. So I will be trying that maybe next week, and I won't have time during the week. So. We're at about 80%, so that's pretty quick. Like I said, one of the grand things about a 3D printer is when you take that off there, knowing that your machine that you built made it. And one thing I can suggest, and I'll go with this, is your first printer, guys, if you really want to understand how the printer works, you really should buy a do-it-yourself kit. Unless you're one of those people who just seriously don't want to build anything, you just want to plug it in and print, well then by all means buy something and you plug it in and print. But I am suggesting that you buy a Flying Bear or something along that nature. I will just again go with the Flying Bear because I love it. Buy it, build it, and have fun when you build it because you're going to understand what moves on this. If something doesn't work right, well, you're going to know how to fix it and where it came from. So that's one of the very high advantages of buying a DIY kit like the Flying Bear P902. don't normally print parts on the machine in see-through material, but this just happened to be what was in the printhead this morning when I got up. So that's what we're using as well. If you do have the Titan extruder and your front cover does shatter like I showed before, I did post the replacement parts that you can print in our Facebook group, and I suggest if you have a Titan extruder, you do at least print one or two of the front face plates that you see there in green, because like I showed you, those do shatter. Alright guys, and this is done. Let's move it back very slowly. Get my trusty remover. Oh, she's stuck. Alright, let's get that off of there. Alright. As you see, we printed a perfect snap-on clip to hold cables in place along the aluminum 2020 frame. My name is Jim, and I reviewed the Flying Bear P902. Please see the link in the description for ordering one for yourself. And I hope everybody has a great day.